Welcome back to Newslink. Now, less than 40% of children under the age of 6 have access to early childhood care and education. Investing in early childhood development does not only benefit children, but could also increase work opportunities for women. This is based on the women's report launched by the University of Stellenbosch Business School. Joining me to discuss the report further is one of the contributors, Laura Brooks. Laura, thank you very much for your time. My understanding is that the reason the report says that it would create more jobs for women is because women are mostly in that industry of early childhood development. Am I correct?
That's right, Maseko, but there is another mechanism through which investing in early childhood education and care increases the opportunities for women to work. Because the majority of people who care for children tend to be women, women tend to bear the burden of care for children. Allowing them to have a safe place where they can have their child be cared for and stimulated during the day also enables them to participate in the workforce and to go and look for meaningful work.
Now, we know that, for instance, the National Development Plan, mentions early childhood development. The Education Ministry has mentioned early childhood development for years now, and organizations have pleaded with government to please invest in early childhood development. But till today, we're still making the same plea.
That's right, Maseko, and I think there are a few reasons for this. It's a very unique sector in that the services are, while the government has the mandate to ensure children have access to early childhood education and care, the services are actually provided in the private sector by women who are opening their homes to children, by women who set up small nonprofit organizations or microsocial enterprises to provide those services. And they are required to comply with very strict registration requirements to enable them to be supported and funded by the government. And I think what needs to change is that we need to have government change their mindset to support and enable these providers rather than providing them a punitive system within which they need to comply before they are recognized as valid and valuable.
Now, of course, talking about, it being a service that is offered in the private sector, if there is a female listening to us right now, what would be your advice in terms of course, it's also important to follow the laws of this country and register at least to be able to be given that right to be a person in the early childhood development sector?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're also at a point where we need to come together and raise our voices to ask that system is changed. There's a campaign at the moment that's being organized by a number of organizations in the sector called the Real Reform for ECD campaign, which is taking the opportunities of the function shift, which shifts the responsibility for early childhood development programs from the Department of Social Development to the Department of Basic Education, which I think is a real opportunity for us to highlight what the sector needs. And secondly, the Children's Amendment Bill, which has been tabled in Parliament, and the Parliamentary Committee for Social Development has rejected the changes that were put forward in the ECD chapters, and asked that we revisit how those chapters need to be revised. So this really gives us an opportunity to say, let's talk together with government about what the system for governing and enabling early childhood services needs to look like. So my advice really would be to join those movements to help shape what the sector needs and to continue to provide the services that children need, and to talk to your officials about how they can help you rather than punish you for doing something that we can all see is important and needed for children.
There's a part in your report where you say state subsidization of early childhood development via the Department of Social Development is minimal. It's 17 Rand per child per day, I believe, in terms of supplementing. But you also say it only reaches 620,000 children. What's the ratio there? 620,000 might sound like a lot to some people, but how many children are in need versus how many actually do get access to the subsidy?
Well, that's about 25% of the need, essentially. And the reason is, as I say, that programs are required to meet the standards for registration before they are eligible to be considered for that subsidy. And then there's an eligibility test on the participants, so the children, a means test to see if their family's income necessitates a subsidy. And I think, as I say, we need to turn that on its head to say that we know so many children and so many families are in need, and so many providers are in need of support to meet those standards. So let's provide that support to meet the standards and to then enable government to meet its mandate of ensuring that fees are not a barrier for parents to access services for their children.
And also August being about Women's Month, and employment also, being very low with the youth and especially with women. This would be something that would empower the females in the country, right?
Absolutely. So as the report says, the sector, the childcare and education sector is really serviced 99% by women. And so investing in this sector is a direct investment in women's employment. There are currently about 300,000 women working in this space, many of them earning well below minimum wage because they're relying only on parent fees for their income, essentially. But this is a large segment of the workforce, and we believe that if investment is made to expand access to the children who should be accessing these services, we could create an additional 450,000 jobs, mainly for women. And those are the direct jobs only. Those investments made into those programs will have a multiplier effect directly in communities because services are located in communities close to where people live. And secondly, the indirect job creation, as I mentioned earlier, by allowing parents and particularly women caregivers to participate in the workforce by relieving them of the burden of caring for their children during the day.
All right, Laura Brooks, thank you very much for your time from the University of Stellenbosch.